right. Well, welcome everyone. I know that I am between you and the raffle at 3:15. So hopefully we'll get through this. If you have questions, please make sure, feel free to ask. I'm here to assist in whatever way I can. So my name is Tiffany Kragnes. I am, if you're all like, who is that? I am the program director for paralegal studies at Yavapai College in Prescott, Arizona. So this humidity is not, if you've talked to me in the last day or so, you've heard me complain about the humidity already. So I'm not a fan. I'll take 108 when I get back and no humidity. It's a dry heat. Okay, so who am I? I am a practicing attorney. So if you saw me boogie out of the keynote yesterday, right about 9:25, I had to go do court via Zoom. So I do still practice law. I originally was licensed to practice. I still am licensed to practice. That's where I practice in Iowa. I'm licensed to practice in Arizona since 2019, but I don't practice there. You don't practice where you try to get internships. I've learned the hard way. Currently, right now, I'm full-time faculty. I've been full-time faculty since 2014. I've been in Iowa as full-time faculty. I've gone to Colorado, and then I've wound up in Arizona to be the last place that I'm going to be. Currently, again, I'm the program director for paralegal studies in Arizona. If you are not in one of the states that has this, you're like, huh? We have a legal paraprofessional program. Arizona is one of the states that is kind of the, I want to say the driving force, because Washington State was the very first legal paraprofessional program. They do no longer have that, but Arizona is kind of the example to do legal paraprofessionals. So what do? They get licensed to practice limited areas of the law. And so throughout my program, not only do I have paralegals, but I also have students that are getting their legal paraprofessional certificate, and they have to learn how to practice law. In Arizona, you can be a legal paraprofessional with an associate's degree, but you obviously still have to take the exam and all of those things. So that is what my program is, and that's why I have tried to at least give as much of a legal experience to those students as possible. So we're talking about OER. What is OER? And of course, I'll tell you, if I can be the person that shares with you the emotional, I don't want to say trauma, but the emotional roadblocks, hurdles, self-doubt, I'll do that for you so that you feel better about it when you do it as well. I had not heard of OER until I rolled into Yavapai College. That was an initiative that had been established from the college in 2020. I've got a slide on it, so I'll get you that exact date. But that was an initiative that they had determined was going to be something that they wanted to utilize to try to get education to our students. So what is it? It's teaching and learning materials freely available for use and reuse, usually under an open license such as Creative Commons. So that means that you can access that. You are allowed to access it. It's not copyrighted. You can access it, you can use it, you can modify it, and you can share it without permission. You don't have to get the permission to do anything with that. I will tell you that is one of the things I still freak out about, but I'll tell you why it's always helpful to have a team in place as well, because I still freak out about it. Of course, why do we want to do that? Well, school's expensive. It doesn't matter whether you're at a community college. It doesn't matter where you're in law school. I'm still paying off my law school loan. So I can tell you, if you saw, I got obviously admitted to practice law in 1998. So you know how long I've been around, and I'm still paying off my student loans. So this provides an ability for our students not to go into debt to get those textbooks. So the other key part that I want to highlight, of course, is the customization part of it. You can make this stuff to what you want it to do in your class. So how did I get here? Well, I'd heard, obviously, I rolled into Yavapai College in fall of 2022. So I haven't been there all that long, but I start hearing about OER, 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 OER. You should really think about doing OER. Whatever. I use textbooks. Okay. However, I get student complaints. the textbook materials that you provided, the learning materials aren't accurate. The test banks aren't accurate. Do you know how many times I have to go back and fix a quiz because the quiz answer is wrong? You can't just import them anymore, right? So I had all of that. I also had, of course, and we always have this, they just didn't get the textbook. Now, I understand some people can make it through law school without a textbook. However, we want them to get textbooks. Now, I was getting very frustrated with the textbooks. I was getting frustrated with the learning materials. I was getting frustrated because I was listening to student complaints all the time. I would spend the first 2 weeks, and we are on 8-week sessions. I would spend the first 2 weeks going through and fixing their textbook problems. They can't. I'm all about e-digital access. Love it. You know, don't go buy the book. You can get e-digital access. No big deal. Except for that created problems as well. I was trying to do my students a solid, trying to make it so it was a little bit cheaper for them to get the textbooks, but they can't access it. Probably because they didn't read their email, but that's a problem that I have to deal with instead of teaching. I spent 2 weeks not teaching, but trying to get them access to their e-digital textbook. Now, we also know in the law, things change, and they change quicker than the textbooks do. So I teach administrative law. I just taught it. I just finished up in May. You all know that the Chevron doctrine's been, it's gone. It's gone. That was overturned in 2024. Yes. The textbook that I was using was published in 2021, and I checked this morning. They haven't done an new edition yet. How? Right? So I have to fix and adjust that because my textbook says there's a whole almost stinking chapter on the Chevron doctrine that I have to then be like, hey, but you know, that Chevron doctrine, just don't put it aside just in case we ever go back, but let's not worry about that. There's this new case out there that we got to deal with. So my constitutional law textbook, yes, sir. I don't really want to say, yes, yes, it is a mainline. Yeah, there's only a few out there. So yeah, a main one. Yeah, main one. My constitutional law textbook. That was just updated to a new edition that I will be using this fall because I haven't got to OER yet. I just checked this morning for the students to get a hard copy of that textbook, $217. So, and I like the textbook, and I like the fact that it's a new edition, but it's gonna be $217. Okay, so at Yavapai College, we had a OER grant. Now, I make that qualification of we have a grant for now. It does actually end, grant funding ends August of 2025. The grant funding was very helpful because that's why I'm here. I can tell you that. I was able to come so I could talk a little bit about OER, the benefits of OER, getting over some of the challenges, the thought process, the mental blocks that I've had. It was made possible because of our grant. But I also can't tell you how many grants there'll be in the future. So we'll talk a little bit about how you might be able to make this happen and work for you too. So we started our OER initiative, like I mentioned before, it was in 2020. We got the grant in 2021. I am not the person who handles all of this stuff. I literally had to go sit down with our director of academic initiatives to get this information. So in Arizona, we have the OER Arizona. That is where all of our OER textbook is. It is a statewide network where you can upload your items there. You do not have to be from Arizona to get access to this. So I will show you the website here at the end. You can get on their listserv. You can access and under their hub repository as well. Okay, so my OER journey. So they kept saying, take OER, take OER. You really should do OER. So I took the training. There's a training. We had a training. I learned how to search all kinds of things, and I went, there ain't a lot of law stuff here. There's not any. I can't use OER. And of course, they kept saying, created. You can do it. Create it. I'm like, no. I'm not going to create this. I'm not ready yet for this. I can't do this. I don't know what I'm doing. So I took the training twice. twice. I still struggle to find OER material, just so you know. I still struggle. I'll tell you who helps me do that. So I am, of course, getting the you should do OER. I'm getting student complaints. I'm getting tired of getting student complaints. I'm getting tired of fixing quizzes, all of that. And I just finally get fed up. And of course, I find out that I can get a grant stipend. I might as well hurry up and get that grant stipend before it goes away. So I just finished up doing my first OER course. I treated myself to a massage afterwards, just so you know. So the grant stipend can actually assist in getting faculty to do OER. General funding can also help as well. At Yavapai College, because that was an initiative, we actually have general funding set aside now so that we actually can continue to do stipends. It's not as much as we had with the grant, but it is something that at least is paying for your time and your effort. Now, it also helped that they provided me a team. So if you're thinking about moving toward doing some OER, hopefully, and I'll show you our timeline, and I will show you kind of what our course map looks like and all of that. It does help if you can get a team, if your institution is going to do that, or you can create your own team. And that's what I would highly suggest, because I can tell you what my team was my biggest cheerleaders and supporters. But what was funny is they kept saying, well, you're the subject matter expert. And I was like, huh? Who, what? And well, you're the subject matter expert. And I'm like, when do I get a subject matter expert? And they're like, but you're the subject matter expert. No, I'm not. Yes, you are. Okay, well, I know a lot about the law, or I don't know everything about the law, and I know a lot in areas that I do know a little bit. I know enough to be dangerous. So we started working on this. Okay, so our team, that's the biggest thing. If you're going to do this, which I would highly recommend, give it a whirl, here's your team. You are the subject matter expert. Definitely was feeling very imposter syndrome. I can tell you also that imposter syndrome as recently as like this morning, when I'm doing OER stuff, when I'm going to be talking about OER stuff, I still feel like I'm an imposter. But I'm not. I've done it. I've actually gotten a course done. An instructional designer. How many instructional designers do I have here? Anybody? Okay. My instructional designer that was assigned to me, actually the biggest, like I said, he was my biggest cheerleader and supporter, even when I really didn't think I knew what I was doing. It was always, hey, this looks great. You're doing a great job. Sweet. To the point where I submitted my application to do another OER course, and it got approved. And I found out from him that he requested that he be assigned to handle my new course, because I was so nice to work with. It's like, score. Well, that's a nice little bonus. The other one is that we have a dedicated OER librarian. Do I have librarians in the room? Okay. Now, she's worth her weight in gold. I will tell you that. When I said going through the OER repository and trying to find that information, I struggled. I like kept graduating kindergarten here. I just got, the course is done, but it's kindergarten. I've graduated and I'm moving on to maybe, second grade, first grade, whatever. But she really is the one who really provided the information. She went out, and where I was having copyright anxiety of, oh my gosh, am I getting the right stuff? I could rely on her to make sure that my material that I was using had the CC by whatever I needed. Don't ask me what all that means. I just went with my OER librarian and said, this is CC by, you can do this with it, you can do this with it, and you can't do this with this one, so we can use this one. Okay, great. That's the person that's going to know your CC by stuff. So you've got your team. If your institution isn't going this route, but you want to develop your team, I would work with your instructional designer and find a librarian. If you don't have a dedicated OER librarian, which sometimes you don't, go talk to your librarian. Y'all like to be talked to, right? You like people to come see you? Yeah. And then try to find and figure out ways to fix the problem. Yeah. I can assure you that your librarian will come and assist you with as much as they can. It's going to be great. I can just imagine that. So, structure, your team, your structure. Definitely. All right. How many faculty in here? Okay. We need structure, right? We need that deadline. Yeah. Yeah. You have no idea how many times that we had a deadline and we were having a meeting that day. I set them for 1 o'clock in the afternoon so that I could make sure that the day before and the morning of, I was furiously inputting things into my course map and into my course shell before I met with my team. So they thought that I was doing something. But it's very crucial to have that, that structure. Whoops, that is not what I wanted to do. I will show you our timeline that we actually have currently for my new course that just got approved. Oops. There we go. All right. This is the one that just got approved. So you can see there are already some dates that have been inputted in there. And this is created across the board for all the courses that are going into to OER publication, I guess. So we've already done the May 28th. The instructional designer has already created a folder, inputted all of the base items into our OneDrive that's shared. We're having our kickoff meeting on June 18th, and just in a few short weeks at 1 o'clock, just so you know, per my request. And then we start working on our course map. Now, very key to at least what I think was my success, because as I just said, I like to schedule them at 1 o'clock in the afternoon so that I had the day before and then the morning of to start inputting in stuff, was to keep me on track. And the one time that Nick, the instructional designer, is like, okay, well, so I think that, we can just meet next month. And I went, nope, no, 2 weeks. We're going to have another meeting in 2 weeks. And we scheduled them every 2 weeks to keep me on track. And I will tell you the one difference is my first build was during the spring. And so I needed to have everything in and done and approved to our instructional support staff, the head of our instructional support department, by June 2nd. And on May 28th, we were still working on it, and still we had our final meeting, and then we were done. But it goes a little bit quicker, I think, in the spring because you don't have the summer. So we're actually starting a little bit earlier, and that was by my request so that we could spread out some of the timeline. It does go through, of course, working on, and there's training. You can do the, different trainings that is offered as well. But they have the course map, and I'll show you a copy of just what a basic, I know you all know what a course map looks like, but I can show you what I did for my course map. There's a lot of red. We did track changes. And so we really actually spent a lot more time going over our course map and improving upon there. So by September 1, I have to have an entire course map completed. So that still gives me a lot of time to work with my librarian, find materials that I think are going to work, and then go from there. So this goes all the way through. And this also is not just for me to get my stuff done, but also for the instructional designer to get feedback to me, and then for the OER librarian to go through and figure out what's going on as far as the appropriate licensing and things like that. By October 1st, then we'll start developing the course in Canvas. When I say we, and me, will be developing the course in Canvas, and I'll be starting to put things in there. The course will actually be completed, of course, and of course the most important part, step 12 is request release of payment. Yay. But we will have that all in hopefully by December 17th. So I have quite a long period of time, 6 months, to actually work on it. The fall semester seems to work a little bit better. All right. Ooh, I'll just go to my course map. So this This is what my course map looks like. So this is the one that's completed. And one of the things that we're also looking at for the future is actually making our course maps viewable as well. So they will go out on the OER network, so you're not reinventing the wheel as well. So now, for law schools, that's a little bit different because my course is an intro to paralegal studies. I had to start with little baby steps before I start getting into some of my evidence classes and administrative law classes, things like that. But this gives you kind of an idea of where to go. The nice thing is this course map comes to me. I didn't have to input anything. It comes to me already with my course description, my course content, and my course learning outcomes. So as I scroll down, and I won't go too fast, but you can see where we did track changes, and of course also all of the feedback that I got from the instructional designer, and then my comments back to him. So we were communicating even not at our meetings, but also during our off times when each one of us were working on our different items. So just worked through the different modules, worked through the module learning outcomes, and then going from there, what are my assignments going to be? What are my discussion posts going to be? And then what are my learning materials that I'm actually going to use? So this will eventually go out as well for and be available via OER for people to utilize as well. That just hasn't gotten to that stage, so my entire course will be available, but just not the course map right now. But you get an idea of, we spent probably the majority of our time working on the course map before we actually got to building the course. Again, I say we building the course, me building the course. All right, so once you, once you get through that course map, again, I will also tell you that my thought process was, I'm not doing this right. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm stressing. I'm still stressing about copyright. I'm still stressing about, do I know what I'm doing? Especially when it came to civil law. I don't practice civil law. I have a module on civil law. I had to relearn. I mean, I know enough to be a little bit dangerous, and torts was not my favorite class in law school at all, much less contracts. So that was a little bit more difficult for me to, and when I say difficult for me was, I know how to research, so I was able to pull up what I needed to pull up and create what I needed to create. But I still had that, I'm not doing this right. What if this is wrong? What if somebody gets my course shell and they're like, oh my gosh, this person doesn't know what the heck they're talking about? I had to get over that, but it did help that every 2 weeks I had a meeting with the team that kept saying, this is looking great. You're doing a great job. So I started to build the course and dropping in the information that I needed based off of the course map. So learning outcomes were already there. I already knew a variety of different things that I was actually going to do for the assessments. I will be honest, I asked good old AI to assist in creating discussion posts, which I'm quite pleased with. And I also asked AI for a little assistance in creating my assignments. Each week they have a written assignment, and it was I put in, again, we've heard over the last 2 days about that it's all about your prompts. The more specific prompts that you give it, the better outcome you are going to have with your assignment, and that's what I did. So we built it. I'm going to be teaching it this fall. Our team, because we're still going to be together, we're actually going to have a separate complete meeting to evaluate how the course went. We're going to be able to track some of the data analytics of where students spent their time. I didn't realize, for those of you who know all about Canvas, the analytics that you can actually go through, see what worked, what didn't, what students looked at, what they spent their most time with. And that's what we're going to look at to see whether we need to adjust that and make changes, because that's the one beautiful thing. Oh, and if there's any major cases, statute changes, I can fix it. I can change it. And then it just gets re-pushed out again. So definitely you want to, we've already planned this, we're going to evaluate it and make adjustments as needed. So, oh, actually, how about I just show you my class? I did say I was going to do that. Come on. All right. So it actually was pretty easy once I started getting in here and creating the course. So we just set it up as a very simple, module overview that I would just put in the information. And then most importantly for the OER instructional material and the instructional material in general, I just put in just a module that you can actually do. Now, the nice thing about something that is an intro course, you can get a lot of the information that you need on the government website. So I utilize the federal courts website quite a bit. I also utilize the Arizona Supreme Court website quite a bit as well. And we have links just attached in as well. So, for example, I added in the United States District Court, District of Arizona, takes you right to the web page. There's some videos that they can watch there. And then here is one of the chapters I actually found. Well, I didn't find it. My OER librarian found it. I did not. Found a textbook online available, CC BY, and we picked out different chapters. Well, again, I picked out different chapters that I wanted to utilize that I thought were very specific to this course. Oh, that was not the one I wanted. So again, that's just a website. In this particular book, I actually found an appendix that had common legal words and terms. It was not Arizona specific, so I picked out different parts of this textbook. You can just use different chapters and then upload it into your course. And I didn't change the New York State. So you can tell this is for New York State. Apparently I need to do that before it gets published. Good thing I caught that now. But again, this was an OER textbook that was available to be shared and used, and I can remix it if I'd like, which obviously I'm going to have to, and then I can go ahead and utilize it. I will show you maybe an area where I might have had a small minor meltdown. The civil law section. Like I said, I am a criminal defense attorney, and so civil law was not my area. It is not my tea. It is not anything that I ever like to do. I barely read contracts. I read them just enough. And so this was a lot of stuff that was available that I was able to find on the Arizona Supreme Court website. So when you see like the Arizona civil trial process, that is a web page, takes the student directly to, if you want to do a civil law case, here's where all the information is. A lot of the states will have some of that information that can go there. The part that I did actually take a chapter and adjust and modify is the comparing and contrasting civil and criminal law. So this, of course, was to New York State. I took the chapter and then created it with Arizona law. So I spent a lot of time looking up civil law in Arizona. Not again my area of the law that I choose to practice in whatsoever. So the criminal stuff flew by very easily, but not necessarily the civil law. There are a lot of nuances that I did not quite always understand in the Arizona law, because that is not my area. Again, I know enough to be dangerous, and I know a little bit more now. So I was able to go through and adjust this to then provide what the Arizona law particularly is. So again, this is part of what you can do with someone else's material that is available for OER, that it's not copyrighted, it has the appropriate share and remix and reuse and however you want to be able to do that. So I created this for my course. There are some that I did not have to change whatsoever, but this is one of them that I actually did. Now, I don't get paid for this, but I got paid for it through the grant stipend, so that did help there. And of course, very easily you can get the rules of civil procedure. We heard yesterday, it was LII that has the federal rules and of evidence and all of those things. I mean, I don't know why we make students pay for a book. You can bookmark it on your computer very easily. And when I teach evidence, I make them, if they're out of state, I make them pick a state, or they have to use the federal rules. And I tell them, whichever one you're going to pick, do not go buy a book. Don't go to Amazon. Don't go to the bookstore. I don't even actually turn in a book now for any type of rules of evidence, although they have them available. But you can just Google it and bookmark it and then use it because it is available to you for free. Same thing if for the students, if they want to look at the Arizona Rules of Evidence, all of that stuff is, of course, available on the Arizona Judicial Branch's website. So super easy on that part. I would have to say I did wait. Module 4, civil law was the last one I did, simply for the fact that I just didn't know. Again, I really felt like I was the imposter and not really knowing what exactly I should be doing and how I should be doing it. But then once I got into it and really started rolling with it, it was a lot easier to actually plug in the information that I felt that they would need to know and know how to find. I mean, in all reality, whether they're in an undergraduate, a graduate, or a law school class, they need to know where to go to find the information. And I should have, actually, before I flipped back over to the PowerPoint, the OER librarian actually created a 15-minute video on how to find things on the library website and how to use Westlaw. And I was like, bless your heart, it is imported into my course, not only in the read these things first, it's also under the legal research section as well. I also shared that with my instructor, excuse me, my instructor who teaches legal research and writing as well. So she's now importing that video to, hey, here's how you use Westlaw. Here's how you find it. Here's how you then can do a search. And she did a really great job on that. So the course is up. No, it's not. I don't know if it's up, but my course is done. It's beyond me, other than apparently that one little thing that I need to fix. One little typo. I'm done with it. And I have to say, I felt pretty good about it once I got over a lot of the challenges that I felt that I was creating for myself. And so it can be done. And you actually feel a lot better about it when you're done. So how can you actually get involved in OER? Like I said, the OER Arizona network is not, while it's all of the major schools are participants in it, you too can actually get involved, and you can search the hub and the repository there. I make no guarantees as far as what all legal stuff is there, but it certainly has enough that you can maybe take to go from there. It really literally is oerarizona.org. So you can go to the Hub Shared Repository. There is a professional learning section where you can actually just take the course to learn how to search OER, how to do OER, all of that stuff. So it certainly is available for you. And like I said, even if you're struggling with finding materials, I highly suggest going to the librarian. Even if you don't have a dedicated OER librarian, they will help you. They will help you get over whatever struggles and problems that you're having, because guess what? Y'all like a challenge too. And certainly that can be very helpful. I will also say, at least this is my understanding, if anybody's from the ABA, please clarify if I'm wrong, but I attended the ABA Zoom on getting paralegal programs approved, ABA approved. I specifically asked them a question about what about OER materials? Are those acceptable? Do I have to use textbooks? And at least from my perspective, they specifically did say that so long as the information is relevant, you have determined it is relevant, you can use OER materials. So I think that would probably make sense. If you're teaching an evidence course, you find an evidence-based OER material. As long as it is supporting your learning outcomes for your course, you should be okay with using that. Okay, so what can you do? Well, it's really shifting your mindset, shifting your thought process on what OER material is. It's not less. You can make it harder. You can make it whatever you want it to be. And that's the beautiful thing about what I felt when I was creating my course is it's my course. I put in what I felt was relevant for what I wanted my students to learn with their learning outcomes. So take those learning outcomes, make your module or your week or however you do it, make those module learning outcomes, weekly learning outcomes, and then build your course from there. What is it most important? I think about now, if I would have been able to utilize for my administrative law class, if I could have picked and chose the chapters, I would have left out the Chevron doctrine chapter, and then probably put in the other case and had a different conversation because, of course, I did. At least one student knew that Chevron had been overturned. So anyway, we also need to switch our thought process with our students. We're not just lecturing anymore. This is not just, I mean, we are using Socratic method, things like that, but students are learning differently these days. And so we have to learn to adjust with that. And that's the biggest thing that I had to get around. I had since 2014, and I was an adjunct before I went to full-time in 2014, and I utilized a textbook, and I showed up to class, and I lectured, and then the students sat there. They probably were looking at ESPN or buying shoes or whatever it was that they were doing on their laptops, and then I would be done with class, and I would walk out the door, and then I would do it again the next day. And I don't know how effective that was because I was teaching out of a textbook. They were getting the PowerPoints that were provided. They were taking a test from the test bank, and that is fine, but students are learning different these days. And that goes for not only our traditional students that are coming right out of high school, but also our adult learners as well. We've had 2 days of talking about AI. We know that some people are using AI, fully, and we have college level students that are questioning anything that's on the internet, and then we have those attorneys who are 40 and 50 years old who are thinking that AI is the best thing since sliced bread, and I don't have to check anything. We've got different areas of how students are learning, and we need to adjust to that. We need to adjust to what our students need. I mean, do they need to buy a $500 textbook? Do they need to buy that $218 textbook? I mean, it's a great textbook. Trust me, I love teaching out of that textbook, and I love the materials, and I think it's really great, but it's $200. And there's less of a chance that my students are going to be able to afford a $200 textbook than they are being able to, they're just either not going to take my class or they're not going to get the textbook. And then what? So think of it that way. We really just have to be cost conscious. They're already paying tuition. And then you add on the textbooks as well. And the other thing that I had to think about, and this was the mind shift that I had to do, was what do I want my students to learn and what is going to be most beneficial for them? How can I give them the best experience in my class? And that's been a different shift. Again, I used to go to class, lecture out of the book, give them their test, and let's go home. Now it's a little bit more interactive, and I have control over what they are actually learning because I created those things. I can pick and choose what I want. Again, I would have loved to have gone through the administrative law class and picked different chapters and then utilized a whole different, maybe just talk about one case instead of Chevron, and then having to fix Chevron, the conversation that went down one path, and I'm like, y'all didn't read that thing and you didn't watch my video and you aren't talking about the fact that we don't have to worry about Chevron. Anyway, I like the fact that you're able to modify, adjust, create. So far, I have not had to create anything on my own yet that is my own document. That's coming. That's the next class I just got approved for. I don't believe that there's going to be a lot of materials, so I will be writing a lot of that on my own. I won't be able to take somebody's previous OER textbook and pick out chapters and adjust them for Arizona law. I'm going to have to write it myself because there is just, from my brief, maybe my OER librarian can find more stuff, but under my brief search, I'm not going to probably be able to do a whole lot with that. And am I getting royalties from a textbook? No. I mean, now I did get a stipend. Not everybody can get a stipend. So that certainly does help. But Do I feel better about the class that I'm creating and the class that I'm teaching? Yes. This is probably the most excited I've ever been for an intro class. And I like teaching the intro class because, of course, you just get the little babies, and then they start finding out that, everything they learn from just Law and Order is not the real thing. And Double Jeopardy, the movie, I hate to break that to them. I just watched this great movie on Double Jeopardy. So let me ruin that one for you. So for me, it's been a better benefit of I'm in control of what is there. The other one is the student benefits. I would much rather have them be able to take a class and pay tuition than not be able to take a class because they have to go pay for a textbook. So the institution benefits. How many of you knew where Yavapai College was before today? So there's an institutional benefit of not only have you heard about our school now, but you also know about our OER network in Arizona. And then your overall academic benefits. I don't know the answer to this one, but I'm sure hoping that I'm going to find out this fall that I have better student success numbers, because despite the fact that I hate Excel spreadsheets, absolutely hate them. I love the numbers on them when as long as I don't have to run the report and someone show me how to read the report and the charts and the graphs and things like that. I enjoy seeing those success rates go up. And after COVID, we had a little dip. So seeing that you're getting now more student benefit, more academic benefits for students is very, I think, beneficial. All right, so you do not need to have a federal grant to do this. Like I said a little bit earlier, I'm not really quite sure where the grant funding is going to be here in the next year-ish. It is always nice to have a grant, but if you can get your institution to set aside some general fund money, and I understand, funding in academia is tight right now, so I know there's a lot of cutbacks on a variety of different things, but the biggest thing is if you can align them to your institution's strategic plan, which was how we were able to do it at Yavapai College. We were able to say, we need to set aside general funding so that we can continue to support this initiative. You all, administration, made these strategic initiatives, then let's follow through with some of these strategic initiatives. So if you put it in those contexts, you can usually get a little bit step forward and maybe get them to listen to that. The other one is aligned to accreditation. Now we have HLC accreditation. HLC accreditation loved it. We just had our 10-year, was that in 22, 23? And they were super excited about the fact that we were moving to all OER. Now, for the paralegal program, we only have one class in OER. Our AJS program has a couple classes in OER. Our entire business degree, so we have a 4-year business degree. And we just got HLC and DOE approval to be the first community college in the United States to have an optimized, less than 120 credit hour business degree. Those courses are all completely, we call them Z courses, zero cost. They're all OER. They've all been developed by the business faculty. So that again is something that you can continue to promote, of moving things forward with the institution as well, align it to accreditation. And then of course, ROI. The administration will ask, what's in it for us? Well, being able to provide students the ability to learn with less cost. They're maybe paying tuition, but you have a little bit less cost with the textbooks. And yes, administration loves it. When you can tie it back to whatever return of investment they're going to have there, they dig that. At least that is what has been my experience. The other thing, I did a full overhaul of an entire course. That can be very, very daunting, because who wants to do that? I jumped in and said, yep, that's what we're going to do. But you don't have to do that. You can start small. You can just do a week here, or a module here, or a section. However you have your course developed, you can take that one section and then build it out from there. See how it goes, see what you liked, see what you didn't like, and then take it from there. You do not have to do a full overhaul of the course at all. And of course, you can then do that without funding. There's that. All right. I will leave this up here. If there are any questions, I'm certainly happy to answer any questions, but my information is up there. I just put my email address up there because that's usually the best way to get me because I'm usually not in the office. But then also our Director of Academic Initiatives, yes, the OER guru, who is actually at the OER Initiative conference also yesterday and today. She is actually the president of the board as well. So her phone number and email address is there. If you don't write it down and you are like, I forgot and I really want to reach out to that director person, you can certainly email me and I will be more than happy to pass on Megan's contact information. Any questions? Yes, sir.
But I just looked you up and are you part of the Arizona?
Yes.
So is this initiative, the OER initiative, a university system?
It's not local to Yavapai College. All of the state public universities and colleges are all part of this. Yeah, they've really built, they've done a really great job. I spent quite some time talking with Megan, the OER guru, about just how vast and how wide this actually is. And it's really great to see. I mean, it originally started with just the rural community colleges, and then it got bigger, and then it got bigger. And now it's full statewide. Yes, sir.
Last session, or the last session Greg and I just went to was on OER, which was the first time I'd heard anything about it. And that was 9 legal writing professors who together collaborated on a book. And the nature of the book, as I understood it, is modular. So it's not linear where they, they have to start with chapter 1 and get to chapter 17. The professor can choose which path through the book they're going to take. And the benefit of doing that is that you can share it with colleagues across the country, and you've collaborated on a book that many people can use for a similar or identical course. What opportunities are there for you doing it this way to make this something that can be shared with others teaching the same course at a different college?
By the way, incidentally, is the they're all modular and
Okay.
freely downloadable.
And free. Yeah.
I don't know when this will happen, but when you go to the OER repository, it'll be out there under OER Commons and available. Like my entire course will be available. So you can pick and choose. So you're like, oh, wow, she did a really great job on talking about legal research. You can just pull that one out or you can pull the whole thing. It's completely up to you how you want to be able to do that. But it's available for import directly into the LMS. Now that's a little bit more techie than I understand. That is how it's explained to me. Yeah. Now that you actually mentioned a really good point about the last session where there were the 9 legal research and writing professors that got together. Originally, this project started out with myself and 2 other adjunct instructors from a different community college. It wound up being just me. So that is the one problem. You might have people fall out along the way. We got as far as the table of contents. So that worked, but you don't have to write an entire textbook on your own. You can have 9 different people helping you. You can have 1 other person. You can have 5. And again, the original intent, and again, Megan, AKA the OER guru, said, hey, I just got contacted by such and such school. They would like to write a textbook on this. Are you interested? I'm like, sure. And we had a couple meetings, and like I said, it kind of fell out from there. But, you don't have to do it alone either. So, that might have been a great project for me to maybe write the criminal law chapter and someone else do a chapter on civil law. That's not me. Yes, ma'am.
Students where they're at with it. Are you looking to incorporate more videos, like kind of as your content evolves? I asked just because I had a colleague at an institution I was at before, who, she designed the entire, advanced legal research curriculum that all the librarians followed. And she did an experiment the one semester, so we had all agreed that we wanted a free textbook because again, for students, stuff's gonna be outdated,
Mhm.
like a year after they're done. So what she did was put together like different readings and stuff, and then the one semester, she kind of did a challenge for herself because she was studying how Gen Z took an higher student groups, and she locate videos to you. So you could either read
Mhm.
the find readings for each class or watch the videos. My entire class watched the videos and actually did and
Mhm.
took in the information stuff with it, but because you could track, everything was like embedded in Canvas.
Right.
With it, so do you see things moving more in that direction, which again is a lot, it's a heavier lift to design in video.
Right.
At least my personal bias than like writing
Right.
something up.
And that actually is a great point. So I'm glad you asked that question. I will be honest, the original course map actually had me putting in videos as well. So in addition to all of that learning materials that were on there, there was also going to be a video for them to watch. And I believe the business department has lecture videos already. My personal, what I have always done is I've always done a recap video. Once I started getting into this, I actually changed it because I wanted to do more of a recap video after everyone had gotten through and more toward the end of the week. That would, because that's what I've always done, but I wanted to cover, hey, what they missed and highlighting, hey, we didn't talk about this, or I didn't see this in the discussion boards, and do more of a recap video. So that's what we're doing. That was the plan now. So that's why we're going to be doing the reassessing and after I teach the first class, see how that goes. If we decide that really didn't work out as well, then we might go in and do more videos. But you're right, it was a heavier lift. And with the time, I'll just be honest, since we were on a time crunch, I was like, I can't do 8 modules of videos to the level that it needs to be done. And so we pulled it out and went with what we had, and then I'm going to do the recap videos and go from there. So I mean but that's also something that you can do is have that video in there as well, and you can find other people's videos too. It's not just written textbooks, so you can find and use those and mix and match however you want to mix and match the videos too. Yes, sir.
But at the risk of oversimplifying the book world in law schools,
Mhm.
From my perspective, what I'm seeing is
Mhm.
publishers and then I see Cali as being
Mhm.
between those, more structured approach to English. But you're also suggesting that there's either expensive book or free things that Cali are doing. As a business person, that a very low price book, there's fundamentally different economics. If you said you weren't getting paid for things, there's a lot of people taking these classes.
Mhm.
Even if you could get a little, times a lot of people using it, it'd be substantial. Not that you're gonna get rich out, but enough to pay back and make it worth the effort for other people to so I guess there's forces, suggesting a lower price book is valuable, and other forces saying that they don't really want to move off the free model because there's something sort of sacrosanct about it. What that said, also as we were digging into this and trying to make things, do our part to make things more flexible. The ebook platforms that are in the mainstream for getting books out to people, they charge, right? And because what they're doing also requires a lift, and they're not going to do it for nothing, but it doesn't mean that it has to be expensive. So if there's a $250 book or $25, almost basically as good, if not better, because it's not under the same financial pressure as a private equity backed mainstream law publisher. Is 25 and 0 different, and is 25 and 250 different? What characterizes the difference between those? Because it feels like it almost sometimes feels like the difference between 0 and 25 is more the difference between 25 and 250.
Right. No, I absolutely get your point. And I would say it really boils down to this. It's whatever works for your class. So if you can find, so like I have, one of my instructors is actually teaching a bankruptcy class this fall. And he was able to find it, and it's like a shade over $25. It was like $35, $40. It's less than 50. He was able to find that book. And I was like, okay, fine, let's use it. And he's like, well, I know you really want me to go to OER. I'm like, dude, if this matches exactly what you want to do, let's use the book. Let's see how it works. Go ahead, teach the class. If you like it, we'll keep it. If you don't like it, then we'll figure out where you want to go. Whether he wants to go to a more expensive textbook or whether he wants to try to build something through OER. It really is. I will say this, it's all about having the freedom to do what you want to do with it. And so if you can find something that's free, great. If you can find something that's 25, 30, 35 bucks, okay. And it works for you, go with it.
But if 25 or 30 is enough to stimulate more people to do them, it's also enough of a savings that it is, I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm trying to feel my way around this, but I feel like that if students had a choice between a book for 0 and 35, that's way better than and
Right.
250. That's way better than having a choice between 0 and 250. When 0 ones, sometimes there's a perception that it's worth what you pay for it, and there's also less backing. Of course, now federal grants are knows what the hell. So it's hard to get off the ground with nothing. It's a lot easier to get off the ground with something, and if you're not trying to make every last nickel because you owe your private equity investors, then you've got room. You're
Well, I was gonna say free to students doesn't,
okay,
because county pays
right, that's right.
so authors quite well, actually, to create the materials, and then the materials are free to students.
So does so if you, one of the reasons we were talking to John about getting stuff into an ebook platform was that it makes the difference between it being, one is that the annotations are supported in a way that they aren't supported with a PDF, and then also you can get it into the exam in a way that we can't really do with a PDF. And however, putting it into the ebook platform, which for the business cost, and in order to offset that cost, there has to be a fee. But it's a pretty modest fee, and so by charging a little, it enables this additional, it enables this to go forward. That's the plan was we're trying to figure out how to make it work.
Right, but what you're talking about. And when you're talking about value added, will the market? We're having, and it's a good guy. I mean, we're already offering as. Already putting our. Vital source once more. And get the book for free, straight. And that's the main source of it. But if the user. Want the notation. Vital source, which is. A really low price.
Pretty low,
Yeah, and then get all of those vital source features.
And also we can support getting it into the exam. That's
You
the
can
goal.
support getting it into exam 4 too, so it's a good value added thing, and.
But I guess the question,
Talk about energy.
yeah, I mean, I guess probably you have to find out where the price, discomfort line is. But you have to start somewhere and do it. Somewhere between 0 and
$500.
It is a price that gets both of those, gets all of that stuff. And so because we're talking about large numbers of users, my overhead is minimal. I'm fine with it being very low.
Yeah, I mean, to the extent that there. Going on. Price is the result of the power that the publisher. And publishers take the material from the people who use the information. And
So back to.
and then they sell it back for a huge,
Mhm.
and they do add value because the. The publishers do not exercise. Authors are expected to put. Copy, they then just get it back. And sold to students for,
Okay, well,
for $500, and the publisher has. So, like they said, there's peer review. And Kelly does. And goes back and forth impressed us with an active staff of editors. Well, and then we do it for free, so never mind the political and philosophical debate anymore, that's done, right?
A $25 Tally book and a free OER book, those are spiritually, you know, those are brothers or sisters, or those are, you know.
Sure.
And the, I'm not hoping none of those guys are here, but for profit publishers doing what you're describing, that seems like it needs, almost needs to match. Yes, ma'am.
Preaching to the choir.
Yeah.
Right.
The ones that have to be convinced of this.
Uh-huh.
I feel like it's close.
Thank you, everyone. I believe downstairs is some raffles.